Gentleman yields back. Gentleman from New York reserves. Gentleman from Oregon is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want to mention that I have read the bill very carefully, Chair Nadler, and there is nothing in the bill allocating money to law enforcement. Mr. Chair, I yield 2 minutes to the gentleman from Virginia, Mr. Good.
Gentleman from Virginia is recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you to the gentleman from Oregon. Our country continues to suffer under the many crises created by the Biden administration and Democrat policies. You know, the border crisis, the crime crisis, the inflation crisis, the energy crisis, and yet the priority of this Congress now turns to expanding access to addictive, behavior-altering recreational drugs at a time when our country is also experiencing increased addiction, depression, and suicide. What's worse, we want to target those individuals and communities who are historically most impacted by the harm of illegal drugs and provide federal funding to help enable criminals to open and operate now legal drug businesses. We have rising violent crime in Democrat-run cities across the country. More drug use won't help that. We have 100,000 Americans die of overdoses last year, the leading cause of death in Americans ages 18 to 45. More drug use won't help that. Our government schools and our education systems are failing us. More drug use won't help that. But in fact, this legislation has no prohibitions on edible forms of marijuana, flavored vape products, or other efforts to target specifically teens and young people. Meanwhile, we have surrendered operational control of our southern border to the Mexican crime cartels. And we've got fentanyl and other dangerous drugs streaming into our country at historic levels because of this president's open border policies. Of course, what's his solution? Let's end Title 42, which is predicted to increase the daily crossings from the current 7,000 a day to as much as 18,000 a day. That's over 500,000 a month. How might this impact the illegal drug trade across our country? Law enforcement tells me that legalizing marijuana will force the criminal element to redouble their efforts into hard, more dangerous drugs to replace the profit that's been lost from marijuana. You can also look at the states that have already legalized it, and you can see the increased addiction, dependency, and homelessness that has caused.
Gentleman's time has expired.
We should be ashamed of ourselves for
the gentleman's
this
time has expired.
and I oppose this bill.